In this video, we'll focus only on the Physician Data tab, which is tab C. Tab C is where we look at the doctors who diagnose disease and look at them by community or city, whatever we've chosen in our tab A inputs. So really quickly, we'll just go over to tab A and see the inputs chosen. We picked Manatee County in Florida and picked all the cities in Manatee County. So going back over to tab C, Physician Data. All right, let's focus on what this data means here. So first is risk diagnoses. Why do we have this? What do we use it for? So I would say that one of the ways that I think risk diagnoses is really powerful is in explaining that this doctor in particular sees a certain number of patients every year, and he's claiming, in this case, the top one is 1,176 claims for patients that are at risk. That doesn't necessarily mean individual patients. One patient can have all the risk factors associated with this bucket, or they can have one, or they can have none. But what's important here is that some people have very high risk numbers, but don't have very high diagnosis numbers. So an example of that would be this doctor here, who has 1,000 and no claims of AAA. And to me, that could be a couple of things. It could be that this doctor is undereducated on disease and does not pick up new cases of disease because they're not screening for it, they're not looking for it. It could be these numbers don't necessarily relate, but this number here, this person with 1,010 has an abundance of AAAs. Maybe this person does screen. So also taking into account that doctor is a cardiologist. So the point is the risk diagnoses data is really powerful because it can help you make the case that doctors don't understand the disease well enough to diagnose it. Now, the other thing you're going to notice about this page, which is different from how we did it last year, is that we have frontline doctors and then we have cardiovascular doctors. Cardiovascular doctors doesn't necessarily mean implanters, but it could be implanters and likely are implanters. So the chosen professions for cardiovascular doctors, we chose general surgeons because in some cases, doctors are not boarded and they are surgeons and they do cases and they may do a lot of peripheral cases and they may do some aortic cases. Or they may actually participate in a case as like a partner in the case, but may not be the main person like a vascular surgeon might be. We also have interventional cardiologists, vascular surgeons, thoracic surgeons, and then in here would be interventional radiologists if there were one. There doesn't appear to be one in this market. They're all people that are likely to do cases in the aorta. What you don't see is procedure volume. This year we did not acquire procedure volume for these doctors. So that's why we're doing it this way. We're showing all the doctors that touch this patient in that manner, but we don't know exactly their disease diagnosis, their procedure volumes. Now up here, frontline doctors, this is the same as it was last year. So it's the same groupings of specialties, and I'm just gonna sort it by specialty. So cardiologists, some cardiologists treat patients and some don't. Some are interventional cardiologists. They're more likely to treat the patients. But some of the specialties, you just don't know if a doctor is fully boarded and has the right specialty for what their practice is. So I left cardiologists in the frontline doctor group, even though in some cases they may actually belong down here. Emergency medicine, family practice, you'll see internal medicine, geriatric medicine, gastroenterology because they're focusing in that part of the body, geriatric medicine, and nurse practitioners and PAs who are also, physician extenders who see these patients, and podiatry as well. So that's your entire grouping of people that are on the front line. If you want to narrow it down, very easy to do, go to tab A, Inputs, and go all the way over here to the F1 frontline bucket and choose the ones you want. So I'll pick emergency medicine and I'll pick general practice. And now that these two are chosen, when I click back over to tab C, physician data. That's all you will see on this page in emergency medicine and general practice. Okay, so very simple, same as what we did last year. As a reminder, I do want to say a couple of things about AAA diagnoses and thoracic diagnoses. We have to remember that these are diagnoses of ICD-10 claims. ICD-10s can be very specific, so it can be an abdominal aortic aneurysm with rupture, or an abdominal aortic aneurysm without rupture, or a thoracic aneurysm with hematoma, or a thoracic aneurysm with a penetrating ulcer, or with dissection. So we chose all of the ICD-10 codes associated with AAA and all the ICD-10 codes associated with thoracic aneurysms, and that's what these groupings mean. So these are the claims of patients with those diagnoses. Very important to know, there is no such thing as an ICD-10 code for new discovery of disease or surveillance of disease or follow-up, post-implanting visits, right? So you don't know where in the spectrum these diagnoses numbers come from. So theoretically, a doctor could have 10 diagnoses and they could all be patients that are being surveilled potentially. Or it could be 10 new patients that were found. We don't know. Or it could be 5 patients with 2 different visits during their span of the past year. So it's important that we express that probably a lot better than how I just said it just now. More succinctly would be good. But it's important we understand what the data means so that when we share it with others, we're able to explain, don't look at this data as individual patients, but look at this as volume or busyness of a doctor who's seeing the right patient pool that we're interested in targeting. Okay, that's it. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.